Good morning, everybody. Leafy Concern here, and today we're going to talk about how beautiful a day it is outside. Actually, we're going to talk about The Novelist, a novel by Jordan Castro. Soft skull press, as you can see on the spine. This is the back. I thought the blurbs were pretty good. I also like the way they got to focus in on this illustration in the back. We got $24 US, $32 Canadian. Oh, there you see soft skull press. Classified as fiction. That's all well and good. You see like there's this nice kind of round thing to the spine. It looks kind of round, you know, over the hardcover. The feel of the paper is pretty nice. One thing I wanted to point out is that the cover has this shiny thing over the ray of light coming from the laptop in the woods. So that's something that I think is just a great touch. It's really cool how that's changeable. It makes it look like there are different things coming out of the screen at different times, even though you're really just reflecting the light off of the beautiful September day. The dark orange continues onto the flaps. These are the same blurbs that were on the back. Soft Skull New York. You see here that it is classified as stream of consciousness fiction. I wonder who came up with that distinction. I wonder if it was Soft Skull themselves. Who comes up with those? If anyone can tell me, please leave a comment or send me an email. It's a book from 2022, a book from this year. I don't usually talk about books from this year on this channel. Printed in the United States of America, which I thought was kind of cool, although a lot of books are printed in the United States of America. For Nicolette, this is the same person, I think, who took the author photo. And before we get into the book itself, I wanted to just look up the word novel in some dictionaries. It would be good to look up the word novelist wherever possible too. Novel, a long fictional prose narrative. Novelist, noun, derived from the novel. So note, you don't have novel derived from the novelist. You know, you don't start with a suffix on the word, of course, that's very obvious. And another definition here is novel, strikingly new, unusual, or different. This is definitely a long prose narrative, and I think that it's not strikingly, it's strikingly new, but it's not strikingly new, I think, in method. I think it's a worthwhile book. It's you know, it's thankfully new, but it's not like, it's kind of conservative. Now we're going to be moving to Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary 10th edition. That's a sticker on. You gotta love it. All my Webster's fans out there, don't you love the explanatory chart? I mean, it's just gorgeous. Swung dash here. You got a swung dash. You got a swung dash in boldface. What's a swung dash for? Let's go to page 13A. We're here at a section on functional labels. A boldface swung dash is used to stand for the main entry as mortify and separate the subdivisions of the verb. If there is no subdivision, what? Hey, NC-17. My old friend. Now this is so cool. Novel is going to be on the page between nothing and now. Like there is not a, that is so appropriate. Because there's a part in the book about nothing, little bits of nothingness or nothingnesses that are on Twitter or something. And then now has obvious implications for novels and, you know, tenses, which are featured heavily in the novel list, a novel by Jordan Castro. Oh, we're already so in depth now. Number one, novel. Okay, so this puts at number one the definition that New Pocket put at number two. So New Pocket knows that when you say novel, you're talking about something like this. But this dictionary is like, listen, you're collegiate. You go with, you know, you want these arranged chronologically. So the first one is new and not resembling something formerly known or used. So that doesn't apply to this book. Original or striking, especially in conception of style. I think that does, a novel, there's that swung dash. A novel scheme to collect money. So I think that does apply to The Novelist, a novel by Jordan Castro. Because while it's not like, oh gosh, where are we? While it's not resembling something formerly known, I'm going to show you a couple books that I think that this resembles. And I'm going to present those, I won't mean to present those in like a neutral way. It is original or striking in conception or style. I guess I think this applies because I want to change conception or style for the word invention. I kept on thinking the phrase ingenious invention when I was reading this book. It's like, it's ingeniously constructed. It's neatly constructed. So I think the neatness of its construction feels like a striking original conception to me. And then number 2, we have an invented prose narrative that is usually long and complex and deals especially with human experience through a usually connected sequence of events. It checks all the boxes. Checks all the boxes. You got the sequence of events. You especially got the dealing with human experience. That's all this is. And then the literary genre consisting of novels. See, that's also very apropos because the narrator of this book thinks about literary scenes and genres as a whole, and the people that make up those scenes and stuff. And he has both direct thoughts and sort of second guessed thoughts. And lastly, Novelist here gets its own entry, a writer of novels. There you go. That's a word from 1728. And lastly, we're going to look at Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, which is the biggest book in the house. Holy crap, there's so much here. There's no way I can read it to you all. You'll never watch it. I like the way they word their first definition. New, of recent origin or introduction, not ancient, unusual, strange. I especially like this not ancient. Is this not ancient? It is not ancient. I mean, I think there's a part of it that one of my favorite parts is when they're using the faucet. He's using the faucet, and the faucet is not ancient, but it's connected to ancient feelings. That made me smile and chuckle. I wouldn't say this novel is strange. I would say it's unusual, just statistically speaking. I would say it's of course it's new and of recent origin or introduction. I mean, we saw 2022 on the title page. So we got novel here. The second definition is huge here. It looks like novelist is going to be on the flip side of the page, but we got sure that we got the derivation. We got number 1, a novella. So that checks out here because this thing is short. I kept on wondering, how long it would be if it didn't have such so much nice space on the page, and it's nice and it's nicely spaced out in the way that I like. It looks readable to me. And it's I don't think it's quite a novella. I mean, it took me a couple of days to read, even as short as it is, but it's definitely not really long. Hopefully this video has been entertaining to you so far, and I hope it only gets more entertaining as we go along. So here we go. A relatively long, that's true, fictional, got it, prose narrative, got it, with a more or less complex plot or pattern of events about human beings, their feelings, thoughts, actions, etc. This is so good because more or less complex plot or pattern of events describes this book, actually, because its construction where it has these little kind of mini episodes within the morning, and then different kind of almost different styles for the different events, and then different thoughts that are triggered by those or not triggered by those. Sometimes when writing a novel, for instance, when working on a novel draft, the narrator is thinking a lot of things, but then when the narrator is doing something else, there's not as many thoughts that spring off from it. So you can imagine a creature with limbs of different sizes, So that to me seems really more quote unquote more or less complex. Their feelings, thoughts, actions, that's the subject of the book. 3, the type or form of literature represented by such narratives. The novel. That's cool. The word literature, whenever it comes up in the book, I feel like It's the kind of thing that maybe the narrator or somebody like them might want to put in scare quotes or something. Like, I feel like the word literature comes up, and it always feels like that maybe the narrator had to exercise some willpower to not drill down into the word literature. Although maybe he really didn't need to have any willpower to not drill down into literature, because after all, one of the character who gets shit talked the most, Eric in the book, is probably the one who would drill most down into the word. So maybe that's right out. But anyway, that's cool too. Oh my gosh, number 4. In Roman law, a new law or decree, specifically one made by Justinian supplementary to the Justinian Code. Now, if you can relate sub-definition 4 of the noun version, oh my gosh. Of course, they're adjective and noun. It's not like, oh my goodness. Adjective before noun. It's not like one of them came before the other. That's preposterous to me that I didn't get that they're adjective and noun here. Anyway, if you can relate definition 4 of the noun of novel to The Novelist by Jordan Castro, you get a special prize. I will email you a limerick in reply. Oh my God, look at this. Novelist. Number 1, an innovator, obsolete. See, that's like, I mean, that's so beautiful. I mean, like, you almost feel like that could have been used as the epigraph of the book, like an innovator, and then just like with this parenthetical, like this kind of unspoken obsolete. And then a writer of novels, checks out. A writer of news, obsolete. Now that's more ambiguous, yeah, whatever. That's really cool. Anyway, with our minds swimming with like the possible associations of all of those definitions to the book we just read, I'm just gonna like show more books and waste more of your time. It's already been quite a long video, has it not? It's already been quite a long video. Cut that video down to size. So I brought these out because of the obvious connections, and also because Lee features in here. And then also Paul features in here as somebody in the novel that he works on for a little bit in the morning, but isn't the breakthrough, and also isn't this book itself. I just want to say, like, maybe this is really unique or whatever, because I'm going to talk in a sec about like fictional things where they describe texts that could exist. This is the like a first example, or like that I've encountered, of something that describes something that could exist and then also is the thing that could exist. It's like the specific thing that could exist that it like references or kind of circles around. I don't know. Half-baked, that's how we keep it. That's how we keep it on Leafy Concern. Bake it halfway. Considering doing Leafy Concern merch where on the front it says, how much do we bake it? And on the back it says halfway. Part of the ingenious construction of the book reminded me of this book I recently read, Mary. I didn't do a standalone video on it, but I really love this book, and it's similar in that it's really confined in space and time, but the excursions into memory, like what happens in this novel in its like third act, I'd say, are awesome. And it's just like a great way to do a novel. And those kinds of novels really affect me, especially when they're done in like this kind of spare, quick style, the novelette style or the novella style. Yeah, this book also resembles this because it's like somebody in a present tumult of thought, but like in a kind of relatively peaceful physical environment, and like remembering times that were more maybe emotionally tumultuous, but also kind of weren't, and just letting the past and the present superimpose, which is one of the subjects of this book, because it goes into tense a lot. But Mary is not one of the books that Jordan Castro explicitly mentions being inspired by in the novel. He mentions, or the unnamed narrator mentions. Side note, I do honestly think that you all will enjoy like the meditations in turn on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. One of my first thoughts when I saw this little to-do list in the novel was, oh, that's a little novel right there. Rule number 1 of making a Leafy Concern video: don't you dare look back in the novel while you're talking about it, because then you're just going to get overwhelmed with things you have no set thought on, and you're just going to be like overcome with the stupidity of making a video about a book when really like you should just read the book and experience it. Yeah, so what in this, I said I was in a side note. I am in a side note of the video. I just wanted to talk about how Jordan Castro actually isn't the speaker of the book. This Jordan Castro comes up in the book as an author that the unnamed narrator of the book like thinks about, and it reminded me of that Talon book, the Richard Yates one, where there's like the find and replace for like Haley Joel Osment or whatever. Like I wondered, sometimes I would like pause and think, what writer would be find and replaced with Jordan Castro's name? And this also happens, fun fact, to be a page where I underlined something. I did underline neatly in pencil in this because like this isn't the most like reverent thing ever. It's not like it's not like a roomy thing or whatever, but adding post hoc intention ongoingly I underlined because I thought that might apply to other things or something. It might be something to take away, but I don't want to dwell on that right now. I want to dwell on the books that the unnamed narrator explicitly mentions. Number one is the mezzanine. Here's the paragraph. This is great for obvious reasons. Does me taking a picture of a page or like 10 pages of a book constitute like me quoting it in a like review? I feel like that I always straddle that gray area. Typically I talk about old books where I'm like, I don't feel like anyone's gonna care, but I don't know, I don't feel like anyone's gonna care. If they do, I don't know, comment or email me. But this is the author that he explicitly mentions in Act 2 of the book. I don't know, these Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 distinctions of the novelist are kind of like, hazy, but Thomas Bernhardt's The Woodcutters is mentioned as an influence or something that the narrator is aping. And I don't have Woodcutters. I wish I had it. I wish I dang had it. But I have Correction, a novel, which I haven't read. I have it in this crispy bleep edition. And it looks visually like something that could be a rant that someone issues from a chair in the corner of a artist dinner room or whatever. If anyone enjoys this book, let me know. Or if I don't know, is this on par with Woodcutters? That's an interesting sub-question. I guess I should read that and we'll get into that. I wanted to bring up Romanian Notebook by Cyrus Consul because reading this, I had a very similar feeling when I was reading Romanian Notebook, where I was like, this is the ideal way to write. It's not too sheepish. It's not too bold. It's very acute, and I'm overwhelmed by it. And it ends up being this really spicy, extremely pleasant, almost unpleasant feeling that is worthwhile. And will probably make you notice more closely, and something would be good to reread. Like I really want to reread this book, and I'm just glad I'm mentioning it again, because if you haven't read this is really, really well worth a read. Kind of lucky to have a copy of that. It's pretty nice. Just wanted to talk about the similar overwhelm between these two things. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, I was reminded of Borges when I was thinking about making this video, because I was like, should I mention Borges? Because Borges is an example, and I think I should, of somebody who creates amazing things, good things, by mentioning things that don't exist, that could be written or could have been written. So I don't know, if you like that feeling of somebody kind of weaseling into that little like fissure, like if you imagine like a skull around fiction, and someone's in that space around the brain or something, like looking at the brain but not inside the brain or something. I don't know. Like if you enjoy someone weaseling their way into the cracks around fiction, and between fiction and nonfiction, you should definitely read Borges. Like you literally can't go wrong, because it's like one of his big subjects. And I've read quite a few stories of his, like, so I can say it's one of Borges's pillars. And this is another cool Borges book I have, The Book of Imaginary Beings, the Penguin Deluxe Edition. I could do a video on my Penguin Deluxe Editions, just like I could do a video on like all my my Nicholson Baker books. I feel like those would be fun to just make, just because I love showing a collection of books. This is actually not mine, but it's in the house. And this is absolutely gorgeous. And this is like an extreme example of what you can make if you kind of spend a lot of time not writing the things and like just writing about what might be in them. Like writing about the beast that might feature heavily in a bunch of stories that an author that you may have been, or like could have been, might have written. Jeez, why can't I talk normally? Another person who does the potential stuff is Marcel Duchamp, and then there's also like works by Edouard Levé, which I've like shown on this channel. It's just upstairs, and the door to that room is closed. But in Duchamp, there's cool things. See, look at this. Construct one and several musical precision instruments which produce mechanically the continuous passage of one tone to another in order to be able to record without hearing them sculptured sound forms against virtuosism and the physical division of sound, which reminds one of the uselessness of the physical color theories. That seems novelistic in a way. And then this is an obvious place to go next. Anybody got into this Macedonia Fernandez book yet? You know, should I go here? I really want to go here. And there's a glimpse at all my Nicholson Baker books tucked back there. About those, more later. Well, thank you all for your patience here. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend this book highly, because, pretty highly actually, because of how thoughtfully constructed it is, how actually much is condensed into it, how somewhat brave it feels, you know, how fun it is to read, how funny the first act is, and I don't know, I feel like, of course, first read again, but it seems worthwhile, so I would recommend getting to this one. If it sounds like something you'd be into and you enjoy, like, you know, like stuff like this. If you enjoy stuff like what's like the stuff by the people in the acknowledgements for the book. Anyway, bye-bye. Have a good day of reading, everybody. Read well. Read well. God Save the Animals by Alex G. is out on Domino. Check it out now. See? I'm a commercial, I'm sponsored. You know, I got paid $10,000 to say that.